Hello guys, and let's start this vlog with a bit unexpected phrase, and that is, I know one area in which Russia is the best in the world. Yes, I mean it. Russia is the best in the world in the informational warfare and propaganda. A couple of days ago, we were all surprised to learn that now, after 2.5 years of the full-scale war, Russia Today, Russia State propaganda TV channel, tried to interfere in the US elections. But do you know what? This is not the first and not the last time, and it happens every day in every corner of this planet. As a Ukrainian, unfortunately, I know a lot about Russian propaganda and Soviet propaganda because they are extremely connected and fuel each other. But actually, it is super dangerous for the future of this world. And now, as you watch my vlog in your safe and beautiful countries thousands of kilometers away from Russia, you may actually be also under the attack of the Kremlin and people who want to persuade us there is no truth, there is no good, and let's all become war criminals. So let me tell you more about this RT case in the United States and other ways to prevent and predict Russian propaganda in your countries and in your minds. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, and once again, unfortunately, I know a lot about Russian propaganda. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, help us debunk these myths, destroy Russian fakes, and demonstrate solidarity with Ukraine and all the democratic world. And share the videos that you consider interesting and important, and I hope this one will be exactly the one. So a couple of days ago, people around the world, and I think especially in the United States, were surprised to know that Russia TV, with Margarita Simonyan, the head of this toxic Russian TV channel, tried to interfere in the US elections. Unfortunately, I think it is not the first time, and I'm not going to go deep into history 2016, 2020, but this time it seems very, very obvious, and serious charges are put against local US influencers. I have put down their names as I did not watch their videos, but among them, Tim Pool, Benny Johnson, and Dave Rubin. I don't know if you were following their videos, let me know in the comments below, but many of them claim they did not know they were working with Russia Today. I don't believe them. Every day, a YouTuber with a more or less big audience is addressed by different companies, mostly commercial, for the sake of advertisement and other, and you might have noticed I never practice that on the channel. Well, because I am worried about my community, I care about my community, and unless I'm 100% confident, I never advise you anything. So definitely they knew what they are doing. And one of the main messages was to persuade that Ukraine should be abandoned, Russia is a normal country, stop support for Ukraine, concentrate on local problems. It goes without saying that every country has its local problems, but there are also global problems which threaten all of us. And Russia's behavior, Russia's disrespect to international agreements and its criminal actions in different corners of the world is actually a global threat. And that task, using various influencers, videos, campaigns, media to distort your understanding of the situation, to try and give you a feeling that there is no one truth, and that is super dangerous. If you want to know more about Russian propaganda and how to avoid it, subscribe. We often discuss that on the channel. So, one of the main tactics that modern Russian propagandists use is a connection with local influencers. They will not introduce you to a Russian lady speaking from Moscow because they understand you can see the connection. You might be quite suspicious. Why is she speaking about that? What is she saying? Even though I know many still follow Russian vloggers. I do not support that, honestly. But They try to find local influencers because you have more trust with local US, French, German representatives. They are one of your people and you believe they are not Russian. They cannot spread Russian narratives. This is a tactics. What is worse, Russia is really good at observing problems inside any country. They totally do not care about problems inside the Russian Federation. They have millions of them. They do not want to solve them. They prefer to look for enemies elsewhere or to start wars outside so that they have this explanation everything is that bad in Russia because NATO attacks Russia or Ukraine attacks Russia, when in reality it is just the failure of their politics, of their economy, of their education and culture too, by the way. But they prefer to analyze and look in detail what is happening in our countries, in Ukraine, in the United States, in Australia, in France, in Germany, and they know very well the problems, the sensitive topics that are inside their societies, and they start connecting the things they want with your local problems so that you think that, I don't know, by abandoning Ukraine, you will have more good healthcare, which is not true because these are totally different articles of the budget and priorities and so on. But they want to connect, I don't know, problems of immigration with the permission for Ukraine to target Russia. They connect unconnected things, but describing them, wrapping them in messages in local context, they make people believe that, I don't know, by sacrificing Ukraine, you can get your gas prices back. It doesn't work like that. Even if Ukraine is sacrificed, your gas prices won't be lower and Russia will continue attacking other countries and this will cause rising of these prices even more. So choosing local influencers, taking into account local context. Also, they produce a lot of fake media outlets and they invest a lot of money in them. They make them look normal. They print lots of articles unrelated to Russian propaganda, and then they start bringing up absurd Russian narratives, pushing this Ruski Mir worldview. And you know, unfortunately, even in Ukraine, I often hear people saying, well, I have seen it on the internet. It must be true. It was printed on the internet. Guys, anything can be printed. Anything can be on the internet. You have to check the sources. And for example, a number of campaigns that I have investigated for the videos on my channel, they also include these fakes about the First Lady of Ukraine and her spending millions on Bentley, or I don't remember exactly what. And first they appear on some totally fake, very new webpage somewhere in South Africa. Then it is reprinted somewhere in China, for example. Then Russia-funded small website in the US will reprint it, and later it is presented as real news. So please always check the source, how long it exists, what kind of news that is, and only trust serious outlets that are on the market for decades. And another very dangerous thing is that Russia always denies these informational campaigns, but actually they deny all kinds of the bad things that they do. Think about the destruction of Kakhovka Dam or poisoning of Russian people in Britain with Novichok, Skripal, for example. They always say it's not us, or just like killing Navalny. It is never Russia attacking Ukraine, Russian troops in Crimea. They always deny it, and some naive people believe like, okay, they said it was not them, so perhaps these were not them. It is Russia, and they are lying. It is a part of their state policy. One of the very important things that many of you do not understand, because you happy people live in more or less like normal, healthy societies, and your government, your deputies, they do not lie to that extent. In Russia, every representative of the so-called structure of power is lying, and they can lie about everything, about state statistics, about the economics, about the military losses. It is a part of this inherited Soviet doctrine. Just have a look at Putin's reaction on Ukraine's Kursk operation. He does not speak about that at all. He pretends everything goes according to the plan, and according to this plan, more than 100 Russian settlements are now under the control of Ukraine. Definitely it's not what Putin wanted. But on none of his addresses or interviews, he speaks about Kursk operation as a problem. He does not mention the reasons why this could have happened. And this is a kind of Russian Soviet attitude. Hide your failures, pretend nothing is happening, hide your crimes, pretend it was not you. And many people from healthier societies believe this kind of lies is impossible on this high level of state government and so on. No, in Russia everything is possible. And if you want to see Russia defeated and speak about their propaganda only in the past tense, subscribe and join the community of our channel. I'm really happy to have our family. And you know that I was working on the filming of the documentary The Great Russian Lies that dealt with Russian and Soviet propaganda. Unfortunately, they managed to preserve this monstrous technology of propaganda since the Soviet Union, and they simply adapted to the new realities, and that's why they are super professional. But one of the things that I remember greatly during filming this documentary was interview with Luke Harding, who is a famous journalist and author of a number of books. He works for The Guardian, and he once interviewed Margarita Simonyan, who is now actually sanctioned because of this RT campaign to interfere into the US elections. And he said that one of the worst discoveries, most unbelievable discoveries of his conversation with her before the start of the full-scale war was actually the fact that she clearly knew they were lying and they were doing evil. It's not that she was self-deceived with her vision of the world, or she simply believed Putin's ideologies. She knew they are killing people, she knew they are doing bad, but she liked that. And he said he was not a religious person, but at that moment, he started thinking, if such evil exists, then perhaps there should be God to balance this evil. So please be careful, because what I can definitely tell you, Russian propaganda is not always primitive. It's not always some kind of BS like biolaboratories or NATO bases in Ukraine. Of course, this is crap, but they can be cunning or shrewd and very professional. And sometimes they create chaos, troubles in your countries without direct connection to Ukraine or your elections. They simply know your triggers, they know your pains, they are very sensitive to the topics that cause tension in societies, and they bring back these topics to quarrel you, to distract you, to create problems for your governments and so on. And I'm confident that like 40% of various protests and distractions and chaotic things all over the world, and especially in Europe and the United States and Canada, are funded by Russia. It is good that this case of Russia TV interference was revealed and became public, but once again, Russia will deny, and lots of naive people will continue repeating, they said it was not them, I saw it on internet, not checking sources, and believing that if it's a local influencer, they cannot work for Russia. They can. Let me know, by the way, would you like a video on Russian vloggers and actually Chinese vloggers? Because the longer I am on YouTube, the more channels I see that are definitely propaganda and were designed to distract people's attention from real crimes committed by these authoritarian regimes. I feel like I have a lot of information already. Join me on Instagram, X, Threads, and Discord. All the links that you need are in the description of this video, same as the link to our merch shop with lots of good items that work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel, and helping me film more and hopefully together with you destroy more of Russian fakes and prevent lots of their informational operations in your safe and beautiful countries. I want them to be like that. Please, please be careful. And most importantly, thank you for standing with Ukraine. Thank you for your desire to want more. And thank you for being active, for being real citizens. That is very important in these challenging times for all the planet. Slava Ukraini!